Welcome back, guys. I'm going to show you the game played between Liren and Magnus Carlsen from the 6th round of the Gashimov Memorial. Carlsen was leading the field by half a point heading into this round. He had black pieces here against Ding, and I'm going to go through the opening stages of this game rather quickly. So here, c4, g6 may be hinting at the King's Indian, but Carlsen doesn't go for it. It's not really in his style. And we have a very symmetrical position. In general, these kinds of positions tend to be pretty drawish, but sometimes that extra tempo for white can play a huge factor. So here, e6, just solidifying the center. Queen takes c6. Rook c8 regains the pawn. So more traits. Queen b6, so that just develops the queen and protects a7, e3. Very symmetrical position. Queen d1. So here it's possible to go queen takes a2. But after g4, the resulting lines are slightly more pleasant for Ding. For example, if bishop e4, f3, this bishop is trapped, so black has to go g5. So white can go bishop takes g5, but then bishop retreats back to g6. So here bishop d6 is a bit more challenging. So after bishop g6, bishop takes f8, bishop takes. So black has the bishop and a pawn for the rook. Maybe this isn't so bad, but Carlsen decided not to go for this. So another possibility is, instead of bishop e5, to play e5. But this doesn't look so pleasant for Carlsen. After h3, simply defending g4, black has a weakness on a7, and he would have to resort to some drastic measures. For example, g5, and then now take the pawn on e5, trade queens. Rook takes a7, white is up a pawn. This is probably still holdable, but no reason for Carlsen to go into this. So Carlsen played h5, simply controlling the g4 square. And now a4. So Carlsen now goes bishop g4, queen e1, and bishop e2. So in a way forcing more exchanges, because if white doesn't go bishop f1, then black will try and cement the bishop on c4, and perhaps this rook can come into the game. So Ding played bishop to f1. So we have more simplification. But after king takes f1, all of a sudden things are not that simple. So black would love to activate this rook, but at the moment white controls the c8 and b8 squares. So Carlsen's bishop is also locked in by this pawn. So if black tries, for example, queen b7, trying to bring the rook to c8, this runs into something like queen a5. So here queen c3 is met with queen a6 check, followed by picking up the pawn. So queen a5, and this seems to be quite unpleasant for black. White has ideas like trading queens and claiming that he has slight pressure in this position. So queen b5 is also a possibility whereby after the exchange, white can play rook a1 and try to put black's rook in a passive position. So rook c7 also springs to mind, but it allows, for the moment, it allows black to play queen b1 check. And there are some drawing ideas with queen b1 to e4. So Carlsen decides to go for a very concrete plan. He plays rook to e8. So queen c3, queens were exchanged, and now e5. So this was Carlsen's idea. So if black would have played rook e7, trying to hold everything together on the 7th rank, then comes rook c8 check. And now bishop d6, bishop c5, rook a8 on the next move, and that is a big pawn. So Carlsen played e5. That was taken. And now Ding played rook to d3. So Ding avoids the obvious bishop takes e5, and after rook takes rook c5, with the intention of rook a5, it seems like black is dropping a pawn. Let's first take a look at rook c7. So after the game, this was discussed, and Carlsen thought that black was okay after rook e6. After rook c5, a6, so black gives up the less important d-pawn, and this doesn't look that bad. So another line that was discussed after the game, instead of rook e6, was to move rook e4. And here d4, e takes, rook takes a7, rook d2. Ding and Carlsen both agreed that this was a draw. The only way this is winning is if white's rook is behind his pawn. So let me just briefly show you an example of such an endgame. So this was a very famous endgame. This game was played between Alekhine and Capablanca in the 1927 World Championship match. So in this case, with the rook behind the pawn, this is winning. So first, Alekhine brought his king over to support the a-pawn. So h5, maybe black could have defended better, since this does allow white, in some cases, to waltz the king right into h6. But then again, not sure how much this matters. King d3. So white's king march forces black to react with his king as well. And now rook a2 is a nice waste of a tempo to gain the opposition. So both players repeat moves. And now king d4, so outflanking the enemy king. And now the king heads towards the king side. And once Alekhine got an f5, he then proceeded to win the game. Let me just briefly show you another example. So this game was played between Botvinnik and Borisenko in the 1955 USSR Championship. And this is a very good example of how one should best try and defend his position. So Botvinnik played rook a4. He first stops black from further advancing this pawn. Black went king g5, so Borisenko wants to bring the king over to support his pawn. But king g5 is a slight inaccuracy on black's part. Instead, king g7 was better. So king g5, I'm now quoting from Dvoretsky's endgame manual. So the best chance for a successful defense in this sort of position is to create counterplay on the king side, either through a creation of a passed pawn or weakening of the opponent's position. So the current position of black's king on g5 contributes to Botvinnik's counterplay. Let's watch what happens. Botvinnik played f3, king f5, and now g4 check. So black should have played king e6. This would have kept winning chances alive, but instead Borisenko commits another big mistake, h takes g4, and this makes white's task much easier. And now h5, white forces the creation of a passed pawn, and Botvinnik managed to hold the game without much difficulties. So now the king hits towards the pawn, and a draw was agreed in this position. So let's go back to the Carlsen game. So rook d3 from Ding. So after the exchange of bishops, Carlsen didn't face much difficulties in holding this. We all know how good he is in the endgame. So king d6, king comes to support the pawn, rook d7, h4, rook c5, rook takes, and with the a pawn gone, black is now very safe in this position. So here we have a draw by perpetual. So I find this game interesting because Carlsen was very practical in his approach. Instead of playing queen b7, allowing queen a5, and suffering in a slightly worse position, he decided to go for this very concrete defensive plan of rook e8, where he would be clearly worse in the resulting position, but he was confident that he could easily hold it to a draw. In the other games, Karyakin won an amazing game against Anand. Topalov won after an oversight from Mamedyarov, so Carlsen and Karyakin are now co-leaders of the event on 4 out of 6. The rest of the field are on 3 points, with the exception of Giri and Mamedyarov, who are on 2 points. So that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed the game. Thanks for watching and have a great day.